Riders ready, watch the gate.
Hey, I should try this once.
Try what?
Hey, welcome back to the Dirty Knobs Podcast. I'm your host, Hollywood Mike Miranda, and my co-hosts are, as always, JV James Vicente and EC Eric Carter. On this episode, we have the true pioneers of BMX, two of the first superstars ever in our sport, Mr. David Clinton and TGIF Byron Friday. We're really excited to have them on the show. We're super excited to have them both in person at the Dirty Fest. What do you think of that, JV?
Oh, man. It is going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yeah, man. These guys are not only are they super cool guys, but both very stylish riders. So we're looking forward to seeing them at Dirty Fest. But right now, we're looking forward to having them on. Yeehaw!
Yeah.
Time for the show. There he is. He's on.
Woo!
Yo.
Yo.
You had some bad weather over there, man. When I flew out, it was all kind of raining.
Yeah, it's unhappy right now.
Dude,
There's actually a squall line rolling through right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, literally.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure I know what that is. What's a squall line?
I don't know. So that's what they said was happening.
Is that a line? I think that's a line of a male and a female animal lined up.
It is.
All the different species. That's what you got going on.
It was happening. Right? It was just, yep. It was squalling out.
All right, man. Well, listen, we got a couple of doozies.
Yeah?
Yeah, some old timers. It's like having George Washington and Benjamin Franklin of BMX on our podcast. Can't wait I'm going to bring them on in.
Yeah.
Take a second to join, and then here we go. Hey, man. Welcome to the Dirty Knobs Podcast.
Yeah, baby. We're here, Hollywood.
Yeah.
We are so stoked to have you guys on. I was saying before, man, it's like the two biggest legends of the beginning of BMX.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow,
Dude.
we're so lucky.
I'm lucky, man. Are you kidding?
No, man. I'm very fortunate. I don't know if I told JV and EC this. I'm very fortunate that I get to see David on a semi-regular basis. Every time I go through the Newbury Park area, I always stop to say hi and pay my respects to the number one rider.
Oh yeah, and he schmoozes the hell out of me when he shows up with Stan Smith's on.
Yeah, I'm going to tell that story for sure.
He does.
And every time I see Byron Friday, it is just an absolute pleasure, a gas. He was just a super cool cat that was always, I want to say this, always nice to me from day one. When I was just the snotty kid that was kind of hanging around with Kevin McNeil, he was always cool to me and would say things nice to me, behind the gate, like, wow, you suck, but at least you can jump.
He was always finding the silver lining.
He's always pointing out the whipped cream, not the turd.
That's right. So good.
Well,
Awesome.
JV, I don't know if you had a chance to do any homework on these two.
I did. I'm
Oh.
sure I'm going to miss a bunch, but my God.
Yeah.
I did look some things up to give our listeners a little bit of background on you guys. Forgive me if I leave anything out, but here we go. So
Well, tell them about our guests. Yeah, man.
You got to remember, we were doing this shit before cable TV.
yeah.
Right.
You must have done some serious homework, bro.
Well,
I think
go ahead, Mike.
Go, man. I was gonna say, yeah. You guys were barely, there was barely TV at all when you guys started.
I know it was only black and white.
It was fantastic.
Like
So
13
good.
channels, right? 13 channels max?
Yeah. I
Oh,
was my
man.
dad's remote.
Yep. Get up and. Yep.
Exactly, dude.
All right,
And then-
JV, let it rip.
All right. So, I mean, when I was doing some quick research and digging up some stuff on you guys, I mean, had met you for the first time in Frogtown, I think both of you guys, and then really digging deep into. And I'm an East Coast guy, so I didn't have a lot of exposure to a lot of you guys out in California, but wow, I mean, to read up on you guys was awesome. Great history. We've had some guests on, like, so lucky to have these guests on, but with you two on today, really is, as Mike says, the pioneers of the sport. I mean, I don't think that our audience, or let's say a majority of them, will realize, that you guys both, I mean, true royalty here when it comes to BMX and making the sport a sport, basically. I mean, it was cool to read on it. So here's what I got. David, we'll start with you, nicknamed Dynamite. Raced from, I hope I got this right, 1972 to about 1982, about 10 years or so.
My first race was 71 at Indian Dunes. I had to wear that shirt because that's where I got my first trophy.
Very cool.
I was going to comment about that shirt.
It is a cool shirt.
Ernie Alexander had the motorcycle races, and I got to go ride with a good friend of mine, Scott Wilder. His dad was I think the president at Stunts Unlimited, and he was a spoiled little kid that had two XR75s, a modified and a stalker, and I got to race his stock bike. And during intermission, Ernie had BMX races at Indian Dunes on the mini cycle track, and I brought my bike, and that's where I got my first trophy at 11.
Wow. So cool. You're considered by many as the first true superstar of the sport. Here's some firsts. Holy moly. First person to win a national #1 plate, period. Participated in the first national that was held in Phoenix. It was an NBA sanctioned event. First official pro in BMX, 1977. You were 17 years old. You were the first factory sponsored rider. Here's one, credited with the first tabletop.
Yeah.
To be called the tabletop. Shit.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
Isn't it? It's crazy to me.
It actually is pretty crazy if you think about that. Like that stat. I mean, all the stats are impressive, but dude, the first tabletop, like think about that for a second. Like that is like a, I don't even know what the right word is. Like it's such a fixture in the sport, not just racing.
Well,
right?
for me, it was like, I mean, we called it a cross up back then, but it was Bob Osborne, Wendy was taking photos, and it was at Saddleback on the lower track that we were playing around. And I did that. And Oz was like, "Oh my God, you got to do that again. What in the hell are you doing?" And I'm like, "Just crossing up." He goes, "No, that's a tabletop because you're almost flat in the air, And I was just like, "Okay, cool,"
So cool.
And it's still that name.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm very honored to hear that.
I'm never going to call it a tabletop again. I'm going to call it a Clinton.
Yeah. Should have been.
Should have been called the Clinton. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I totally Clintoned off that jump.
Another first Hall of Fame inductee in 1985. Raced for Peddlers West, Kawasaki Motors, DG, Shimano, Redline, Diamondback, just to name a few of them. I mean, it's amazing. Quite honestly, there were a lot of wins in here that I just couldn't write them all down, but basically won every California title in the 70s, which at that time was a big deal because California was the only place to race. So you basically won every big race out that existed at the time.
Yeah, we got to go to Arizona and Nevada, but I mean, California was really where the races were at, and most of the guys came from Arizona or to California, or from Nevada just to come race the big races because those were the big downhill tracks.
Yeah, awesome.
Wow.
Retired in 1980, had a brief comeback in 82, but a pre-existing knee injury similar to, we just talked to Lee Medlin, kind of the same thing, kind of took you out and put you into retirement.
Riding for Diamondback, I was actually testing one of the new 24-inch wheel Diamondbacks at the time, and went out just riding and went off a small little jump and looped the bike, and it was like literally I was probably a foot in the air, which was crazy. It wasn't anything big. And I looped the bike and I just threw it and thought I could land and run like you jump out of a swing. And I did a full hyperextension and literally put my toe on my hip. It was just like face down. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I remember going to the hospital. A buddy of mine was there. He picked me up, put me in his mini truck, and we literally drove by my house because I had just recently got married. I was only married like 9 months, and we honked the horn and told my wife I'm going to the hospital. And she's like, what the hell? What did you do? And we just like took off and got to the hospital, and they were just like, this is not good. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, it's not good. And literally he goes, we're going to have you in surgery within a couple hours. And literally he's like, I remember waking up out of surgery and he's like, there's really nothing we can do. You blew out your ACL, your meniscus, and there's really no repair for this because this was 1980. Oh. And he just says, you're going to have a long road to recovery. You're going to have to wear a brace and don't do anything physical. And I'm like, but I race bicycles. Yeah. And he's all, not no more.
And that
was hard. That was the hardest thing to take, man. That was the worst day of my life, I have to say.
Wow, that's
it was harsh, because like you said, we did so many jumps. I mean, Byron can fill you in here. I mean, I went and at 14 I went and stayed with Byron at his house during the summer, and we went out and rode with Johnny O'Mara. Johnny O'Mara lived right down the street from him, and we would go over into Encino at these where they were building these custom homes, and we built some hellacious jumps off these terraces, and it's when I first got one of the Kawasaki bikes, and Byron and I had taken some shocks that his brother Thad took off his CR 125, and we put them on the back of the Kawasaki bike, which raised the back end up a little bit, but I literally had true suspension that actually had some compression and rebound. And we went down and hit some crazy jumps, and Byron was just like, dude, go for it. And I'm like, okay, go for it. And I mean, we were flying high. And I actually think at one point, Byron can back me up on this, but I jumped over a police car because they came in to tell us to leave, and he pulled up and I was already en route to hit it, and I just went for it. So I jumped over the hood.
You mean you and Byron are like the first Dukes of Hazzard?
Yeah.
And you said you guys were riding with Osho.
Yeah, Johnny. He was the man. I mean, that guy had incredible skills on a bicycle, and we raced the Yamaha Gold Cup, but I think it was at Birmingham high schools when I first met Johnny and Byron, and no, it was super cool. It was their local school, so that was 74.
I was also, much later. So I'm assumed that our listeners would know who Johnny O'Mara is, but Johnny O'Mara went on to be super high level factory motocross and supercross star for Honda. Some would argue Honda still is the premier team, but when Honda was the premier team with the baddest works bikes ever, O'Mara, Bailey, they had this killer team, and Osho was like a pillar of that program, man. Just an absolute supercross icon, and really helped usher in the supercross movement of what we have today. He was some of the first supercross stars, not unlike you guys in the BMX world. So it's cool to hear that you were actually ripping around town with the Osho.
It's pretty cool. It was probably 2 or 3 years ago at Anaheim 1, went down there with a buddy of mine, and he was like a major Osho fan. Yeah. And when Johnny was riding Mugen and had his little white gaiters on and stuff, and I'm like, we walked up by the Honda pit, and Johnny was in there, and I'm all Osho like that, and my buddy Chris goes, he's a legend, and Johnny looks over and he goes, no, DC, you're the legend. And I'm like, oh my god, he came over and chatted with him, but he's like, dude, to have Osho say that to you was pretty cool. So
yeah, really cool.
That was awesome. He's a very nice guy.
Dude, he's good people, and he's extremely humble, man. Like one of the most humble guys you'd ever meet. Like to talk to him, you'd never know that he helped
accomplished everything he did.
Yeah, man, you just wouldn't know. I was teammates with him for a year or two on Barracuda in the 90s when we raced mountain bikes. So I got to really spend a lot of time with Johnny traveling and racing and stuff, man. And it was some of my favorite times were hanging out with him. So I get it, dude. I know he's a legit dude.
Well, the dude's a badass when you can beat the 500cc world champ on a 125 when he did that at MX Nations, and that was pretty badass. So no, he's legit.
They still talk about it to this day.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Not many people could do that.
No.
All right, JV.
All right, Dave. Then the last thing it says here, a little interesting fact, was that just about at the time you retired, you were still doing one pedal starts when everyone kind of were doing the two pedal balance on the gauge.
Absolutely. It was really just starting to come in right before I had retired, and I know Hill and a few other guys were doing it. But yeah, I don't know. I was just short legs and I could get onto the pedals quick, and I always thought I got pretty decent starts, and that was literally when I did that comeback at Bakersfield on the 24. Yeah, I was the only guy on the gate doing a one pedal start, and they were just like, this guy's a freak of nature. What the hell's going on here? But that's all I knew, so it wasn't like, I could balance, but I just, with my leg, and not having the strength in that, I'm just like, I can't do this. I need to be able to push off and get going, and so it was one of those things, because like I said, it took me a year to kind of recover to where I could even get to ride my bike. So I had no leg strength, and to try to balance and do that type of start, it was just not going to happen. So I just went, screw it. I'm gonna stick with what I know. And I think I got smoked at Bakersfield, but it was just fun getting back and banging bars with the guys and stuff like that. But I knew that it was like, yeah, it was cool. And people were like, yeah, it was good to see me come back, but I wasn't who I was before. And I'm like, I'm fooling people if I think I could come do this. So it was best to just walk away from it. And I started working as a salesman at Diamondback at the time. So
not easy to step away.
It wasn't. I was too young, because the money was just starting to get big. Right before that, I had won the Mongoose Grand Nationals at the LA Sports Arena, and beating Patterson, McNeil, Kosmala, Harry, all the big guns were in there. And it was a nice deal to go wire to wire, and that was actually, I think back then, that was the biggest payday for BMX. Just from Ernie alone was $1,000, and I think that day alone I made probably close to $4,000, and in 1979 that was pretty decent money.
Yeah, it's good.
So not
money.
A bad Sunday payday.
No. Well, speaking of Sunday, how about Friday?
Yeah. All right. So Byron, he makes it a little. You got to make it a little tougher. You got to get like a Wikipedia started. I had to do some research. Took a little time. All right. Started racing in 1979. Inducted in the Hall of Fame in 1996. Also regarded as one of the original pros. Participated in the first ever BMX tour in the U.S. We can talk about that. Rode for Kawasaki, Shimano, Peddlers West, DG, and then Scorpion. Worked with Redline, developed the Pro line, V-bars, stems, frames, forks, and the famous Redline flight cranks, which we all love.
What?
Can you believe that? But ultimately caused it to break his foot because he busted it. He'll probably tell the story on that one. Designed the ZF1, which was Zunner and Friday. It was a DG bike. You know that one, Mike?
Yeah, that was the DG Pro Frame.
Man.
ZF1.
Yep.
The ZF1. All right. Basically when I read this, it basically seemed like you raced a lot of prototypes. You were testing a lot of bikes all the time. But
100%.
it was kind of like a bad thing, too, because there were a lot of races that you probably could have won where your bike just kind of like broke.
Yeah.
The Chuck Yeager of BMX right there. The test pilot of BMX
Absolutely.
right there.
Byron was the biggest guinea pig I ever met.
Oh my gosh.
And then
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then the last one here, later in the career, worked with Mongoose, putting on BMX clinics. all around the U.S. and as team manager and the mechanic of the team. So I was able. That's what I was able to get. Not as
Hey,
long, but
I want
First-
to add a couple
First
things to it.
first BMX pro to cross over into mountain bikes, into mountain bike industry and racing.
that one I gotta add. That's a good one. See if you had
Yeah.
a Wikipedia, could have had that in there.
I think you were the first BMX pro to actually work in the pardon me, first BMX pro to work in the bicycle industry when you went to work for Redline.
Yeah. It was
I
right.
believe so. I believe
Yeah.
so, Byron. You were.
Yeah, but
Eh.
the timeline there should say started probably 71, same race with Dave Clinton.
Ah, okay.
at
Yeah.
Indian Dunes.
Byron was there early days for sure.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
okay, so the first time that I ever met Dave Clinton was with Johnny O'Mara. So let me back up. Let me give you guys a little timeline here, okay?
Love it.
Yeah.
So Johnny and I were classmates in elementary school, junior high school, and high school. So
Wow.
I can talk to you for 2 hours or more about how a kid from Van Nuys became the legendary O Show. And as a matter of fact, you guys should probably get him for a podcast because he's never told his BMX story. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
He's on the list. He's on the list.
Okay. So let me back up, reverse to make a little bit of a comprehensive timeline here. So when we're talking about the genesis of BMX, we're talking about the motorcycle industry was the catalyst to get BMX going. Okay.
Yep.
And the BMX races that existed early on, okay, earliest on was the early races that that Ernie Alexander put on at Soledad Sands, which they started writing race reports in the local motocross newspapers, okay?
Yeah.
And so then also Scott Breithaupt started races at Saddleback Park. Okay. And then there was also races in San Diego. So this is like 72, 73, 74. And I'm reading about David Clinton, Perry Kramer, John Palferman, Tom Lund in Southern California motocross newspapers. They're covering motocross races, and then they're covering BMX races. So you had early pioneer journalists like Rick Toomey, Patty Toomey, Suzanne Claspi, Ernie, Brenda Lee's dad from Palms Park. Okay, Palms Park was racing every week. And so I was reading about all those guys, plus Dirk Claude O'Hare, Doug Takahashi, Philip Palferman. And I hadn't even raced yet. I was about to race at Chatsworth. And so,
So Byron, you were reading about him before you ever raced. You were already hooked on the sport, on BMX in the books first.
in the
newspapers.
bi-weekly newspapers, okay? And the first time I saw a picture of David Clinton was at Saddleback, okay? The dude is on a Stingray bike, okay? And he's like 9 feet, 8 or 9 feet in the air, just laid over, like full on, looking like Joe Robert, okay? Dude, even to this day, you when you look at that, that's like a hot shot, man. You know, that's a hot shot.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they started having races in the valley at Chatsworth Park, but Johnny and I like to raise money to help pay for our replacement parts on the bike. And then also he was riding motocross and starting to race because his dad was into it. So we got a paper route that we're delivering papers 4 days a week to earn money. And so we find out about the Yamaha Gold Cup Series, the California Championships. Okay, we had raced a couple times. Okay, now the first qualifier race is going to be at my high school where I end up going to high school. It's right next to our junior high school and right down the street from our elementary school where we're going. So we find out that they're setting up the track on Thursday. So we head down there, Johnny O and I, and we roll up. We're about a block away, and we see these two guys on Schwinn bikes, but they're all modified. So Johnny and I roll up, and we start talking, and we didn't know it at the time, but it was Dave Clinton and John Palferman. And so we start riding to the high school where Scott Breithaupt is setting up the course. So I start talking about, hey, I'm reading about these guys in that are racing at Saddleback, Dave Clinton and John Palferman and Perry Kramer. And Dave's like, oh, yeah, that's me. I'm Dave Clinton. That's John Palferman. And Johnny O and I are just like, we're freaking out.
Yeah. Well,
like you're in the newspaper. Oh, my God, you're so rad.
hey, Byron, that's sort of like what we're doing right now with YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's a lot what we're doing right now with YouTube, because when we first started, before I ever raced, the same thing. I looked at newspaper first.
Right.
I would get that same newspaper from Malcolm Smith's motorcycle shop.
Yeah.
And then the first magazine I saw was Mini Cycle BMX Action.
Right.
And the same thing. I was looking at your two names, and I was surprised when I was when I was looking at pictures for you two of both of you to put on this episode. I was surprised how many pictures I saw of the two of you together in races.
Right.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the Mini Cycle BMX Action, they became Mini Cycle BMX Action BMX. It morphed into Super BMX.
Yeah, that became Super BMX. I remember that.
Right. And so that was because of a gentleman, one of the pioneer BMX journalists, okay? His name is Scott Heidebrink. He was the catalyst to bring BMX into Southern California motocross newspaper.
Absolutely.
Okay. And this guy is the reason why, one of the primary reasons why the motorcycle industry adopted BMX as heavily as it was. He's also in charge, okay? He's the chief editor of Mini Cycle BMX. They add BMX because of him, and then they start Challenge Publications. They start Super BMX. So Scott Heidebrink is a pioneer of BMX journalism and publishing that hardly anyone knows about.
Wow.
Dave Clinton does.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, like I said, when I was looking through the pictures of looking for pictures of each of you, I kept seeing pictures of the two of you together. And there was something else that I thought was very funny, was that I saw a picture of David Clinton, the most famous picture in my mind of David Clinton on his Kawasaki doing a tabletop. And then, a few pictures later, I see a picture of Byron Friday on a Kawasaki. And then I see a picture of Byron Friday riding all Redline stuff. He's the Redline guy. He's got a Redline t-shirt. And then a couple pictures later, I see a picture of David Clinton at the LA Coliseum jumping, and he's wearing all Redline. And right next to him, coming off the same big wooden jump, is a guy on DG, Byron Friday.
Yeah.
Then a couple pages later, I mean, it's you guys are so intertwined. You rode for the same teams, but you were both, the first, like JV said, the first of so many. And I'm curious as to how you guys were on the same team, but at different times. Were you ever on the same team at the same time?
Yes.
Kawasaki for a while. Yes.
That's cool.
And then Dave, can I ask you both to tell me, I don't need the whole stories of how it went, but tell me how your teams progressed. Like, how did you go from Kawasaki to what?
For me, Kawasaki was part of Jim Emerson at Peddlers West is kind of what got us going in on that. You know, he said that the Kawasaki Motor Corporation got in touch with him and they were building a bike, and he led us on for it seemed like months, you know, that they were doing something, and we were like, well, yeah, that'd be really cool. That'd be really cool. And I had started riding for Rick's Bike Shop after Peddlers West for a short time. And
okay, so time out. So you started at Peddlers West. It's the bike shop team.
that was
And
my
Byron?
first sponsor.
And Byron, you started at Peddlers West, right?
Yep.
Not started, but because of Dave and my performance, Dave got me hooked up with Peddlers West, which was Kawasaki.
Okay, so then Dave,
We're on
Peddlers
Kawasaki.
West.
Dave got me on Kawasaki and
Right.
Peddlers West.
So Peddlers West became Kawasaki then.
Well, not necessarily Kawasaki. They kind of leapfrogged us to over to Kawasaki at that point. You know, Jim just said, hey, I've got a handful of guys that I think would be great for Kawasaki to go and run with. And like I said, Chuck Dillahay was our contact at Kawasaki at the time. And they literally showed up at Peddlers West, or they showed up with a sample bike, and it was a chromoly Kawasaki bike, green, and it was a freaking tank. And I said, this thing looks really cool. You know, I said, but, you know, because we were riding Stingrays, but I'm like, it's way too heavy. And I go, there's no way we could ride this thing, because they were starting to go to some flat tracks a little bit. You know, there was still, we had a couple races at Soledad Sands, but Randall Ranch was kind of like that. Escape Country and maybe Saddleback were the only kind of downhill tracks at the time. And we said, you know, that bike's way too heavy. It'll never go. And so Kawasaki goes, okay, we're going to change this up. We're going to lighten it up considerably. They didn't tell us what they were going to do, but we're like, okay, you know, that was it. So I kept riding my Stingray. And then one day we were out at Castaic Lake, a race that Ernie had on a Friday night. Wow. And these two Kawasaki vans show up, and they open it up, and they've got these polished aluminum Kawasaki bikes. And I think our jaws hit the ground, man. I ate so much dirt that night just because I couldn't even speak. I was like, are you kidding me? Because I literally grew up, my parents really didn't have anything. My parents were separated here and there, and I would spend time with my grandmother. My grandmother lived literally a couple blocks from Peddlers West, and I was the little Grom that hung out over there and helped sweep the floors and build wheels. And that's really kind of how I got my foot in the door, you know? So, you know, Jim Emerson was really, really cool guy. And, you know, for us being able to do that, I was very blessed. But, you know, like I said, I could, you know, riding our bikes the way we did. He's like, no, you need to be in contact with these people. So like I said, Kawasaki showed up with all these bikes. And, you know, again, I got to be a guinea pig there, because the first couple bikes they brought us were bitchin' looking and everything like that. But that's when the first development of aluminum frames started. And I went off the first jump on one of these things and tried to jump it like my Stingray. And I almost put this thing into a pretzel. You know, it was just, the aluminum was so soft. I mean, everything bent, the bars bent, top tube bent. I bent the swing arm, and I come wheeling it back. The wheel would not even roll in the frame. And they're like, oh, so they just threw that in the van and gave me another bike. I mean, they probably showed up with 14 bikes, you know, and let us ride. So I was just like, oh my God, it's just like endless stuff, you know? But,
well, you tried to put an end to it.
Oh yeah. I literally just with a couple bikes, I think that first night I destroyed 6 bikes, and they're like, we got to change this. So they came up with, you know, they came back with us probably 3 or 4 weeks later with a new batch of bikes that they heat treated much more.
I was going to say, they put those ones in the oven.
They did. And trust me, I everybody remembers this. And Kawasaki had sponsored a race out at Saddleback Park. And I remember winning my motos, because back then it was 3 motos, semi, and a main event. And I won all 3 of my motos on this bike, and Kawasaki had people, because, you know, it's down in Orange County. Santa Ana is where Kawasaki was based out of. And they had everybody and their brother out there watching this thing. So I was like, yeah, this is cool. I freaking won my 3 motos. And then literally the semi, I whole shot, come around, started to go off Bonsai Hill. And that was probably about a 65-foot drop off that we would launch down. And I remember as I'm coming off this jump into the air, the head tube breaks off and I got handlebars in my hand and I'm freaking just flying dead sailor.
God.
The rest of the bike falls behind me and I threw the bars and I just face planted at the bottom and got knocked out. And I remember waking up in an ambulance.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, but they grabbed that bike and took it away real quick because it was heat treated too much. So it went from a pretzel to basically glass, you know, so
brittle.
So
It was brittle.
you went from Stingray to that's how you went from Stingray to Kawasaki.
correct.
And Byron, I'm assuming you started on a Stingray too. You went from a Stingray. How did you go from a Stingray to a Kawasaki?
I was Johnny O and I were practicing like and training like we were pros. And so when we got to the races, like we were good, we were really good. Not to brag, but we were like we're racing on downhill tracks and we're shredding. And you know, we're keeping up and we're winning races and we're doing good. And so Dave, Dave and I are becoming friends. And so you know, they're talking with Kawasaki and Jim Emerson about who to hire as the next rider. So they put me on Kawasaki and I'm teammates with Dave. So I go from the Stingray to the Kawasaki.
All right.
And wait, at that time, just from a timeline, is that, David, after you've already tried a couple of bikes? I mean, did they have the bike solidified by then or still going through prototypes?
They had gotten pretty good on the bikes, but they were still doing a lot of changing heat treating. I mean, just really trying to perfect it for us. So that was the cool part, you know, that they were always trying to make it better for us.
So Dave, after Kawasaki, what did you move to?
After Kawasaki, I basically in 75, I had won what they called it was the early NBL, which was NPSA, National Pedal Sports Association, based out of Florida, and that was Brian Esser's dad had started this with a guy named Bob, and I can't remember his last name. But they started this, you know, National Pedal Sports Association, and I won that national title back then. And then I came back, and for some reason, I don't know why, at 16, I was getting kind of burnt out, and all my buddies that I went to high school with, I was in 9th grade at the time, but all my buddies, I grew up with Willie Simons, and Donnie Hansen was in my neighborhood as well. And those guys were all on motos, and I wanted to ride a moto. And at my 9th grade graduation, Kawasaki shows up there in a van, and they gave me it was a 1975 KX 125. Wow. And that was my first real, like,
I read that. Yeah.
Crazy
and that got
dirt
you,
bike.
Yeah. And that got you to kind of test racing, right?
Got me hooked. Yeah. So I went out, Ernie, you know, was like dabbling in between motos and BMX back then. He would still run a few races. And I went out to Indian Dunes and I won the 125 beginner class on that thing. And everybody's like, dude, you need to race this thing. You need to race this thing. So my dad's like, if you want to race it, race it. So I'm like, hell yeah, I'm doing this. So I took a little break and started racing my motos. And I did that for just, God, probably a couple months in the 125 class. And my dad's like, you need to ride an open bike. And I'm like, well, I'm basically 15 years old. I don't need to be riding a 400. And he's like, yeah, you need to ride that. So I got an open bike, Kawasaki 400, and Jimmy Weinert was riding for Kawasaki at the time, and he hooked me up on some suspension for that thing. So forks and shocks, and that, because the bike was kind of a toad except for suspension. It was fast, but it didn't really handle that well. So he hooked me up there a little bit, and that helped it out. And I was winning intermediate class. And then it turned 1976, and Mako was the big bike. Adolph Wells had it was the AW replica, which was a 400 Mako with laid down shocks. And my dad's all, you need to ride a Mako. So he bought me a Mako through California Motorsports, and that was a guy named Billy Payne. And he owned a shop in the San Fernando Valley.
Hey, Dave.
And yeah,
Dave, I'm gonna interrupt you because I'm gonna edit this out anyway.
yeah.
Dave, how did you go from what did you went from Kawasaki to what? What was your next BMX bike?
My next BMX bike coming back was a Jimmy Weiner.
Wow.
He started doing BMX bikes with Laguna Distributing. And yeah, I was, because I basically turned pro on my Mako, and I was riding the local pro area at Indian Dunes, and I did a couple saddleback races, and then it was like, it was my parents paying for it, and they really couldn't keep up, and I'm like, this is crazy. I want to do this, but we can't afford it, and trying to get new stuff for my bike and stuff wasn't happening. So I go, I'm going to start racing BMX again because I can make good money doing that. So I contacted Jimmy, and he's like, yeah, come on down here, man. We got a bike for you. We'll get you hooked up.
Awesome. And Byron, you went from your Kawasaki to what?
So I'm on Kawasaki. I'm happy. And all of a sudden, Jim Emerson comes to me with Marvin Church and says, hey, we're going to deal with Shimano. Shimano America is right down the street. And they pitched me that Shimano is going to make a full group for BMX. And you're going to get off that Kawasaki, and you're going to get on a factory Webco frame, handmade, with all Shimano stuff. And the JBM group, Shimano Japanese Manufacturer Group, was going to take your input, and they're going to make you whatever you want. So I was heartbroken to split up with Dave, but this is one of those opportunities where it's like, when you go to Shimano and you see the whole warehouse, and they say, well, here's a shopping cart. If you want to sign, here's a shopping cart, and just walk through the warehouse, and
that's awesome.
Dave,
and
did you know?
Did he make it a star?
Did he talk? Did he talk to you before he left the team?
Before
Byron?
you guys broke up? How did he break up with you?
Yeah.
No, we
Was it
were
through a
all
note?
buddies, and it was awesome because literally this was a time to where, Byron didn't come from a lot either. So this was stuff to where we were getting cool, decent parts, and when people would start doing this for us, we're just like, hell yeah, this is awesome. And he was a great rider, and he knew the sport really well, and he was very innovative, and so it was a perfect matchup for him to go do that, because he could give them a lot of input on what bicycles BMX needed to take it to that next level. And they used him, there's no question about it. I think Byron should be credited for a lot of different things in BMX that people would get his ideas and take it to the next level, and it just kind of moved past him, which kind of sucks in the long run. But no, he's created a lot of cool things.
Well, we're only into bike number 3, and I never knew that you rode a Webco and you rode a Weiner. I had no idea. I just think it went from Kawasaki to like Diamondback or Kawasaki to Redline. I didn't know there was stuff in between.
No, the Jimmy Weiner thing, which was a cool, quick little story, was I got the bike basically in a box, nothing, completely apart, on a Thursday. We went and picked it up, drove home, and then me and my brother turned around and drove to Arizona for the Winter Nationals, and got there on a Friday night. We built the bike on a Friday night in the hotel room and went to the races. I can't remember what track it was, but I remember winning all 3 motos, my quarters, my semis, and the main, and the trophy dash. And it was like on this bike, and they're just like, oh my God. But it was a nice bike. It was stiff. It was light, but it took a whole different style of riding because I was so used to a heavy bike and being able and putting power down like I did. I had to change my riding style considerably, because where I would try to power, I had a lot of power, but you couldn't put it to the ground because the bike was so light. So I had to change everything on how I rode, but I was very successful that day, and it was awesome. And granted, this was on a coaster brake bike.
Yeah. And then you went from a Weiner to what?
I went from a Weiner to actually, it was a Diamondback Shimano deal. And that's where I got, in 1977, I got a prototype Diamondback, and it was actually the Centurion Diamondback at the time. And they hooked me up, and like you said, Shimano was kind of my sponsor, main sponsor, but Diamondback would do the frames. And back then I was getting like $400 a month to ride that frame, so it was decent money. I was like, okay, this is cool, I like this, plus what Shimano gave me. So that was all cool stuff, and did that. And then go ahead.
And I was going to say, Harry, are you two following this? So Byron went first.
Yeah,
Dave went to Kawasaki, then
Yeah.
Byron. Then Byron went to Shimano. Then Dave went to Shimano.
Yeah.
exactly.
And Byron, when you were on Shimano, you were riding the I'm sorry, what'd you say again? What were you riding? The Webco.
West
And then
Coast.
what
Started
did you-
on the Webco.
Yeah, and then what'd you switch to?
Well, Jim Emerson was very connected with the bike industry. And so he had relationships, and he had a separate company called EFF. And so he started working with a company out of Florida called Trailmate, Stromco. And they built a Softail BMX bike, which after the Webco, I rode the Softail Trailmate, which they ran some ads in. But then the Lynn and Jim Emerson, Lynn Caston from Redline, started working together. Okay. And before the Shimano Grand Nationals, which would be the earliest, biggest race, I switched to a Redline, a squareback.
And was that and if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the very first Redline frames.
That was probably after the first. That was probably the first 50, because Lynn was making prototype frames for the bicycle industry and also for the bicycle bike shops. So he was doing all these prototypes, which hardly anyone know about, for the bicycle industry. Redline was gaining a momentum. But so that was the impetus for me to start getting involved with Redline. Shortly thereafter, Lynn and Jim Emerson from Peddlers West would talk about, hey, Byron is right down the street. Okay, he's right down the street from your shop. He's always complaining that he wants a better product. He's got ideas. Okay. Lynn said, well, why don't I hire him? And so Jim Emerson set up a meeting. So I went down after school and had a meeting with Lynn, and we talked about building a relationship.
All right. And so that gets me to you on a Redline. And Dave, you were riding a Diamondback, and that's what I remember, you riding a Diamondback in a Shimano kit until you switched
To
a
Redline.
Crazy.
Correct. And that was basically from hanging out at the teen center, which is crazy. Byron was there working with them. I was, riding the teen center all the time. And Lynn, Caston came out. I lived in Simi. Lynn lived in Newbury Park. And that's where I live today, here in Newbury Park, by Newbury Park Bike Shop that Mike comes to visit. But Lynn would always come out, and his babysitter, Rita, was a chick that I was just like scoping out. I'm like, oh my God, who's this hot chick that you have? And she was, like you said, their babysitter. He would bring to the races all the time. And I met up with her and started dating her, and we got married in 1980 and still married today. So
Wow.
that hooked me up with Redline.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It is amazing. It is.
Right.
It really is amazing. And so now, Byron, you were riding a Redline, and then how did you go from Redline? You went to Scorpion?
No, there's okay. When I start working for Redline, okay, I'm riding for Shimano.
Right.
And I'm working at Redline. I'm still riding for Shimano. Okay. But there's only the square back. Lynn had not started working on the Proline series products yet. Okay. And so I was there for a couple months, and we moved from the small shop in Northridge to the shop in Chatsworth.
Chatsworth, yep.
Much bigger shop. Okay. And this is when I start to go full bore complaining about the product. I'm discontent. And Lynn starts drafting, working on the drafting board, making blueprints. Starts off with a Proline stem. And we start testing that out, a few different versions. And then shortly thereafter, he starts working on the first V-bars. And so I'm encouraged by that. And then I'm showing up at the races with my Redline square back with this Proline stem and V-bars. And all the riders are like, how do I get that? How do I get that? I want that. And so all of a sudden, people are calling Redline, hey, we want that new stem and those bars. And he's getting orders like crazy. And I'm like, dude, I hate this frame. I need it longer. It's too heavy. And so the next thing Lynn does, he works on the Proline fork, which is a super lightweight, which would end up being heat treated. It's about half the weight. And then he starts to work on the Proline frame. Okay. Now I'm training like crazy, trying to be a better athlete than Johnny O, because he's fucking really good. I'm training like crazy. Every day I'm riding to Redline doing sprints. And so my fitness is good. My riding is good. Lynn finishes the Proline bike. It's longer in the front. It's a lot lighter. And Friday is a freaking whole shot machine, dude. My confidence just boom. Just like, it was awesome. And then to cap it off, okay, the crappy caliper brakes, Lynn said, fuck that. We're going to put powerful tandem brakes on your bike. And they put cantilever brakes on the bike. Okay. So
on a Redline.
Sorry?
On a Redline?
Yeah, on a Redline. Yeah.
Proline, the first Proline prototype. So the first few races were on downhill tracks. Okay. The Bakersfield downhill. And then we had to race at Weinert Mountain. The Weinert Mountain race was the Redline ad with me getting sideways and sliding out. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, when you're going 30 to 35 miles an hour down a steep ass hill, and you got a cheesy caliper brake that doesn't work compared to having a cantilever brake, dude, I was bombing.
Okay, so when you were done with Redline, what did you ride next?
No, hold on a second.
No. What did you ride next?
No, I gotta tell you this. Okay. So when Lynn made the Redline, when he had the full series, okay, he delivered the Redline jersey, the Redline helmet, and the pant. And he said, "We're done with Shimano." Okay. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, because this Redline kit was dope. It was dope. So
yeah, I saw it on David.
yeah. So that was another few months. Then I was starting to become a stoner, and I was making bad decisions. I ended up getting fired from Redline.
Oh. Okay, and then so what'd you ride after that?
I was floundering around, skating, getting loaded, okay, the party lifestyle, and skating with down in Marina del Rey with all the Z boys and Dogtown guys at the.
Let me rephrase that. So Byron, after Redline, what were you riding?
I rode a triple A aluminum bike.
Another one I've never heard of.
It's a race ink bike.
Oh, race ink.
An FMF. Okay,
and AAA was one of the people that. Yeah, AAA was also one of the people that were helping make the Kawasaki bike back in the early days too.
Oh wow!
So AAA was a manufacturer.
Yeah, they
that's
were
the
a
whole
manufacturer.
aluminum connection. Wow.
Yeah. So I almost dropped out of BMX. I was riding pools. I was riding skate parks more than I was riding BMX. And I was really going on a path to self-destruction. But then DG called me. Botima got me hooked up with DG. And they basically got me out of that phase of my life. Okay. And I ended up going to work for DG. And DG was a manufacturer that they were manufacturing many different BMX frames. They were a subcontractor in the BMX industry.
And DC, when you stopped riding a Redline, what did you go to?
Actually, I went back and started riding Diamondback and Shimano again.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, Shimano and Diamondback. That was my main deal. And then right after that is when I was only with them for probably 7 or 8 months, and then I blew out my knee.
All right.
Yeah,
So
I got to go ride with Shimano and Diamondback. That's 1980. It was early winter of 80. Myself and PK got to fly over to Holland and go Garrett Does, and got to go over there with him and do the clinics over there, and got to meet Pierre Carsmaker and do all that stuff, which was super, super cool. We got to watch Brad Lackey race at the Luxembourg Grand Prix against Roger DeCoster and Andre Malherbe and all these guys. So it was pretty epic to go over there and meet those guys and see that stuff. So yeah, it was so cool. And then literally it was a short time after that, actually got to go to Japan, race Japan back in the early days with PK and stuff. So got to go visit Shimano factory, got to go to Mr. Shimano's house, and they took us out to steak dinners, which was really cool. So really cool stuff. And then, go visit the Diamondback factory. And then, like I said, after that, I blew out my knee, and that part was over at that point. So,
man, what a great opportunity.
But to back up a little bit, when I was at Diamondback before I blew out my knee, actually on that 24-inch wheel Diamondback, actually it was a mountain bike. This is when mountain bikes first started being built. People didn't know what mountain bikes were down here. Yeah. And Byron was in his promoting career. He was putting on mountain bike races because, like I said, he was the first guy to go from basically BMX to mountain bikes and really turn that whole table. And he promoted some local races in the valley over at Puerco Canyon. And then he sent us a deal and says, hey, I'm putting on a mountain bike race at the Super Bowl of motocross at the LA Coliseum. You guys want to do it? And I'm all, hell yeah, I'll do this thing. So they had a expert, and this was the very first pro race for mountain bikes. And I got to do that. And I actually, at the start, I led about 3/4 of the race, and I got passed by Mike Bell, with Too Tall Mike Bell. He's now deceased, rest in peace, my friend, but got passed by Mike Bell and another guy, John Wonderly, I think it was.
Dave Wonderly.
Dave Wonderly, yeah.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting 3rd place, and I made $75. But my claim to fame on that whole race was I beat John Tomac. Tomac got 4th. At the very first pro race, I beat Tomac. So not many people can say that in their careers,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool stuff.
So Byron, when you were on DG, and that's when where did you go from DG?
Oh, so the DG relationship ended, and so I moved back to LA, and a couple of the executives at Shimano started a company called Sentinel Cycle. They were doing road bikes, and they started the Scorpion brand. And so that was an opportunity for me. I was working construction for about 6 months, and it was really cool because the frame was made in Chatsworth, and they used a road bike lugs, okay, but they used Tongay butted tubing, and so I had this frame with any geometry that I wanted. But what was cool is the joints on the bike were super strong. I didn't have to worry about them breaking. And at this time, we're okay, we're starting to ride. We're starting to build like big stuff. Me and Robbie Roop and Eric Roop, okay, we're starting to build big stuff. And we're starting to we're like getting ready for the ESPN type series stuff. That's one of the reasons why that kind of stuff started taking off, because we were pushing the promoters. We want big. We'll help you make the tracks. We want bigger stuff because that's what we were building.
Wow.
And so the Scorpion situation, that was awesome because they had money. Okay, we for 2 years we got to do summer tours. Okay, with brand new vehicles. Okay, all expenses paid. They gave me a Camaro, and they did some advertising, and it was just like a super fun time. We were mainly doing the NBL War of the Stars series, so we're making money at the NBL War of the Stars. We're doing clinics. Meeting all kinds of people. This is the best time in BMX.
Yeah.
And riding jumps, everything was getting bigger at that time.
Well, just to recap, I created a little chart. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I just can't believe how much you two have zigzagged in your career.
How much did we overlap?
Oh my gosh. And like I said, it's zigzag. It's crisscross applesauce.
No, it's pretty cool that I can say that, we're still friends today. And, we respect each other, and, to meet somebody at 13, 14 years old and to be able to do this and, have the careers that we had. We competed against each other, but we never rode dirty against each other. And back then, they didn't have track marshals like they did today. I mean, it was one of those that you had to, kind of fight for your own, and I really enjoyed the downhill tracks. I think ultimately that's where I had my most success in doing. I had, some other stuff on the smaller flat tracks, but the downhill stuff, I don't know. I was, at that time in my life, I was kind of fearless. I like to jump big, whether it would be doing a tabletop or just hitting something, because we didn't really have any backsides on jumps. It was, however big the jump was, like Byron said, you're doing 35, 40 miles an hour and you hit this thing and just fly forever. And people would just be blown away that we could literally jump a bike that far, So it was really cool to be able to do that, but to see how the sport has progressed, I was blessed to be part of it, and like you said, to be part of the beginning is awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Let me set the stage for one of the catalysts that really helped springboard BMX was Scott Breithaupt working with Yamaha to do the Yamaha Gold Cup California Championship Series, where the final is at the LA Coliseum, right? And so imagine it's 1973, fall 1973, okay? Scott Breithaupt's working with Yamaha. They have the qualifying races. You got and there's the track is not a traditional dirt track, okay, but you got kids that are really good. You got Johnny O racing in the junior class, Larry Huffman, Supermouth. It's funny, there's film footage, okay, of Larry Supermouth Huffman announcing Johnny O, and Johnny O being on the start of the final at the LA Coliseum. And number 268, Johnny O'Meara. And he's like this. I'm on the sideline. Go!
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. But I just want to say this, okay? So this is like the premiere of BMX, okay? On the stage, okay, for this industry. And dude, Dave's riding skills at that time, okay, he was fit. And for riding on a Stingray, okay, this dude is super stylish and he's fast, dude. And he's out there and it's like, you're watching him, he's like poetry in motion, dude. Okay. And so, And they have that documented on film. If you search on YouTube, Yamaha Gold Cup Finals, LA Coliseum. Okay. So I just want to say this, that if it wasn't for the motorcycle industry and a lot of key people, okay, I say that BMX grew exponentially because of the perfect storm with all these key people in the industry, the motorcycle industry, the motorcycle publications that promoted BMX by featuring stories on the sport. And that was why so much money got poured into the sport. So it never would have grown like it was and become what it did without those early days.
Yep.
And
I would
also
say
riders like Dave that had so much talent. You could, at these races, Dynamite David Clinton, the dude is so stylish, dude, and so fast. It's like, fuck, look at that dude.
He was so stylish, I guess he raced in construction boots. Is that true?
I did, yeah. Well, these were downhill tracks that, seriously, I mean, I get up in the mornings, I wonder, because we had, you jumped a flat and you had freaking 10-speed style rat trap pedals that would literally, if you wore tennis shoes, they would literally cut your shoes because you'd go so high and so far and land. I mean, your feet hurt so bad, and I feel it today. Get up in the morning, first couple steps, I'm like, holy shit, what did I do? I wish I had backsides like the kids do today, it's like crazy.
First couple of steps sounds like you're shuffling a deck of cards.
Oh my God, hell yeah, it's crazy. But no, it was cool to be able to do that stuff. I mean, Kawasaki, doing stuff. Well, actually, I have to say, at Rick's bike shop, Rick was way into motorcycles and being able to go down to Webco. They were big into motorcycle stuff and getting the padded pants, elbow guards, knee guards, and Jofa, and to this day I still have one of Byron's brother, Thad, because he was riding pro 125 class, and we would go through his gear bag and I would grab out a Torsten Hallman visor and a Jofa and some Carrera goggles because Thad had so much stuff, and I still have that Jofa today, which is super cool. I'll never get rid of that thing, but that was one of the things. So I've had that since 1974.
Good.
That I got. But another thing, racing with the motorcycle guys, was in the early days at Soledad Sands, was racing against Bob Hanna. And that was a very, very cool thing. The guy was incredible. He was super fast. He rode a dorky Schwinn bike with some real narrow bars. But I remember being in the 12 to 13 expert class, and I was winning everything there. And then I moved up to the 14 and over expert class, and Hannah, I think, was 15 or 16 at the time. And I remember the first couple races that I raced him, and I was literally right on his ass the whole time. I couldn't pass him. And then I finally just, because back then it's with an older person, you're all afraid, you're all timid. And I finally just hairballed it one time at Soledad. They had a wooden jump at the end, and Hannah was going, and I literally just balls to the walls, no brakes, and Ricken went flying by him and passed him in this corner, and he's just like, where in the hell did you come from? And I passed him and I beat him. At that point, he was like, dude, you're legit. You're a little kid, but you're legit. And it was kind of cool. So I earned the respect from that guy. And we talked about that day up at Frogtown, which was super cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
We talked about your progress, the progression through your frames and the way it went. I wanted to quickly, I built this other chart. It's the progression of David Clinton's footwear. Started with these.
Yeah.
And then next time I saw Dave Clinton racing, he was racing with Adidas Stan Smiths.
Yeah, baby.
And then finally all of us went to the Vans.
Yeah, baby. You were right on there, Hollywood.
Yeah, man. The funny story is I was at a store, and I knew I was going to see David Clinton 2 days later, and I was so stoked to see him. So I went searching around, and I found some Adidas Stan Smiths, and I wore them in to see David Clinton. I go, look, these are my David Clinton racing shoes.
I had the biggest smile on my face when he walked in because immediately, I mean, Hollywood comes in with these white shoes on, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I know what those are, dude.
So my David Clinton Stan Smiths.
Oh, it was
You know,
awesome.
it was one of the first hot shots ever was David Clinton coming out of the cereal bowl turn at Corona.
Corona,
And
yep.
And I have a question on here with this big number plate and these white Adidas shoes. And what blew me away was at that time, all of us were wearing Vans and he was wearing those. And growing up, Vans were our play shoes. If we had good shoes, like my good school shoes were Adidas Stan Smiths. And I thought, oh man, he gets to race in his school shoes. So I got to ask you, that was one of the first Haro plates I saw. And you rode number 69. Was that your NBA number?
That was my NBA number for a while. Yeah, my first number was 63. And then at one point, I mean, where I was racing and stopped and where they, you know, where you land in local points and what you did for the year. And I was number 69. Yeah. So that was.
How many guys back then wanted that number?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, trust me, I heard it from a lot of people.
And I was looking the other day of a great picture of Byron Friday, and probably one of my favorite number plates ever. It was a circular number plate, and you had the coolest number 5. And I don't know who made it. Wasn't, you know, it was before Haro. It was just a great number 5X with the NBA sticker on there.
That was a Bob Haro plate, one of his first ones.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Just on a circle, just on a white circle, man. It was just so cool looking.
Oh shit, he's going.
Dude, he would make plates out at the track for you.
Look at that son.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Right?
Yeah, he would make plates for you out at the track. It was cool.
Right there, Byron.
Yeah. Hey, Byron, it works better if you take your pants off and then hold the plate up.
Yeah.
Dude, look at that thing.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I was always amazed. You know, well, so speaking of number plates, I just want to say one of the most iconic number plates ever, though, was not a Bob Haro plate. I don't think. It was just a circle plate with the American flag and the number 1 on it.
Yeah, baby.
That was David. That was David Clinton, man. And so, you know, as you guys know from listening to the podcast, we have the Dirty Fest coming up at the end of April. That is the Southern California Vintage BMX Extravaganza, and I am so stoked, so proud to say that I found across the country. I found a Kawasaki bike, and through the help of a lot of friends, we've rebuilt it to be as close as possible as David Clinton's number one Kawasaki bike. And we have thanks to Mike Game Center, we have a number plate with the number 1 on the American flag, just like that, to have Dave, the first number 1 BMX racer, ride the parade lap on the number 1 plate on the number 1 bike.
You showed me that. You showed me that.
That is super cool.
Dude, it's going to be
that
great.
is going to be awesome.
Stoked. I mean, that's just pulling it all together for us. And Dave, we appreciate it so much. And Byron, being the coolest cat I know, I also want to give you props for this. When I first said, hey, I want to do a podcast, and when Byron Friday heard about it, Byron Friday was the first person to reach out to me and say, hey, Hollywood, listen, I've been working on getting a podcast out. I made these mistakes. Don't do this, don't use that. And Byron was, like I said, the first person to reach out to me to tell me all the things I should and shouldn't do. And so, Byron, we wouldn't be here tonight. We would not be here tonight without your help, my man. You two both have been such an impact on me, on us, and on BMX. You mean the world to us. And you're not only legends and icons, but man, you are true heroes.
Yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Appreciate that as well, man, for sure. That's cool. And like you said, I'm just blessed, just a normal guy, just like the rest of us, you know. I mean, as far as just a basic good-hearted human being, but being able to be good on a BMX bike is something I was blessed with. And I mean, now I got 2 grandsons that are begging me to learn how to wheelie. My youngest one is 8, and he is like, I want to learn how to manual, and I tell him, dude, I don't know how to manual. I can do a coaster wheelie, but as far as leaning back over that rear tire, I go,
You could do a tabletop.
I'll land on my ass, but everywhere we go, he wants me to do wheelies for his buddies. So that's the one thing I can say. I can still do it 63 years old, and it's fun to do. But I mean, now I'm doing a lot of moto riding with those guys, and I'm just in heaven being able to go out to the desert and take them out and go riding, and we do some big rides and stuff. So that's what I get enjoyment out of doing now. It's just riding motos with the little guys.
That's cool.
Yep.
And thank you so much for hosting this. One thing I want to say, I want to give obviously props to all you guys, but one thing I want to give props to Eric for when he crossed over into mountain bikes for that success, but also one thing in particular, one day that I had so much fun. It was so rad, and it was the catalyst for mountain bikes to start to go big. It was a race that Eric put on at Glen Helen. It was like mountain bike supercross halftime at the AMA Outdoor National. And so I was working for Trek then. And dude, they built this track, man, and it was like just for one day, but okay. It was super fun, like Lopes, okay, Carter, Cedric Garcia, and Wade Boots. Had some pretty massive jumps, but here's the thing: it's at a motocross race, and so you got this big audience, dude. And these guys are sending it. And I'm just like, dude, this is so going from being a BMXer to seeing this. It's just like, hell yeah, dude. This one of like, how you have a lot of fun days that you remember. But sometimes when you're in the beginning of something and you're starting to see the genesis of it, okay?
Yep.
And so it's like the birth of big air and mountain bikes, so massive props there, dude.
I appreciate, a lot of people don't know about that, Byron. Dude, you're like this crazy wealth of all things bike history. It's pretty, actually, it's really amazing. Not pretty amazing. It's really amazing how many things and how much knowledge you have and that you can recall. That event, that thing was kind of a brainchild of myself and Troy Lee. So I was sponsored by Troy at the time, and I was talking to him. I was like, man, I got this idea that because I was racing what they called duel, which was 2 riders against each other on one track, and that was just basically there was a crash fest. If you were behind the guy and you were in the last turn, you'd wreck them, and then you would race to pick your bikes up. And it was kind of exciting because of the wrecking, but the racing was not really good. And so I said, I want to do 4 riders because it's a self-governing amount of riders, right? Because if you're in third and you take the guy in second out, the guy in fourth passes you. Yeah. And luckily, Troy was like, well, I'm doing all the artwork and I'm sponsoring the deal out at Glen Helen, and I'll talk to Lori, who managed the park, and then I'll talk to Bud Feldkamp, who owned Glen Helen, and I'll talk to those guys. And why don't we see if we can build a course, and in between the first and second motos at the Outdoor National, you can run your race. And I was like, oh my gosh, man. I was like, wow. And then, so I built the track. So I went out there for like weeks and borrowed their tractor. They let me use their tractor. And I built that track. And I remember when the guys showed up, all the rest of the riders showed up and were like looking at the jumps. They were shitting.
Yes.
They were really big. And a lot of them were like right out of corners. And I made this like supercross whoop section. Basically, it was like stairs, but instead of making them flat, I actually tilted them up. So you had to go into them fast or it would hang you up. But yeah, that was a great event, Byron. The jumps were big, and I knew that the jumps had to be extra big for what we were like we had to be uncomfortable because those guys are watching a motorcycle race. So it's going to have to be something that these guys are like, I've never seen anything like it. And that's why I built the jump so big. And, man, I appreciate you remembering that. It's crazy you remember that. But yeah, it kicked off mountain cross and four cross, and that kind of took over for a while. And then now you see these guys, I mean, it's not Rampage style, but you see these guys, they have this event called Dark Fest, and they have jumps that are bigger than that, but it's the same style. It's like big and fast and tons of hang time. And what they're doing now is insane. But yeah, man, I can't believe you remember that. That's crazy. You remember that, Brian.
Well, you know what? Hey, isn't it amazing that EC can go out and build a fantastic track? Yep. No surprise to JV and I, because we've seen his work in the last couple of weeks. And it won't be a surprise to either one of you at the end of April when you come out and ride Dirty Fast.
Yeah.
It is such a fun track to ride. Can't wait to see you guys out there.
Oh, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. But hey, like Byron said, he had his little party times in his life, but it didn't kill all the good BMX cells. Okay.
I love it.
Yeah. Well,
it's in you forever, man. It's in you forever, bro.
Yep. Hey, you may have been the absolute beginning pioneers, but to this day, you are still BMX gods.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for being part of it.
This has been
great,
you
so much, man.
Yeah,
I greatly
thank you.
appreciate it. This is fun stuff, man. And thanks.
Absolutely. Okay, guys. Thanks
looking
so much,
looking forward to the Dirty Fest. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast, guys. We can't wait to have you out there.
Yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff. Right on, guys.
Okay, now we're done. Hey, seriously. Hey, thank you guys. It means a lot to me to have two heroes on here from the very beginning. I mean, thank you guys for taking the time tonight to come out and do this.
Yeah,
you're very welcome.
Thanks so much, man.
Thanks for having us.
History is insane, dude. Like,
it's insane.
When you start talking about like,
dude,
being involved
this right here.
Yeah, like that.
Well, yeah, go ahead, EC.
Being the first guys that are like David going over to Holland and Japan and having dinner with the owner of Shimano, or Byron helping develop flight cranks. What the hell, dude? It's insane.
Right?
Brother, this is the thing that like that whole mapped out discussion on bikes. Like, you know, we say you guys are the pioneers. I mean, if you really, you know, for the people that are going to listen and they're going to figure it out, that it wasn't just because you started it, but the bikes that you guys went through, you were going through prototypes, the industry's moving, you're making different bikes. I mean, you sculpted basically the way the bikes go. You know, that is
right.
Not everyone can even say that they've done a little bit of
bikes that they learned how to heat treat aluminum bikes while you were riding them.
Right. Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
While you were breaking them.
Yeah, while you were breaking them.
Oh, yeah.
Driving another one out of the van.
Exactly.
Crazy.
That was the crazy part. I'm lucky I didn't get hurt earlier in my life.
Dude, you are.
That's
I can't
true.
believe, like, because in a previous job for a company I worked for, we would get some prototype stuff, and some of the stuff would come in and it'd be really shoddy, and it would just be like, it just was basically, it was a mess. And
it was really shoddy.
So you know, sometimes the factories would be trying to educate the factories and bring the factories up to a quality level. And some of the factories just were not capable. And so would get these frames that sometimes they weren't heat treated, which in this day and age, like in the last 3 years, it's pretty crazy that they're still not, that they don't understand that. But we would be building them and you could feel they weren't heat treated. They were that flimsy and Gumby. It was, and so I can't imagine riding that.
Oh yeah,
that's what you described. That when you said that story, because I refused to ride one of those bikes. I put it together and I got in trouble because they're like, "Why are you not testing?" I'm like, "You're out of your freaking mind.
You're trying to kill me
thing off a curb."
You're trying to kill me.
It's okay. Hey, go ahead and send it on that 40-foot drop off on that downhill BMX track with an inch and a half of travel. Yeah, you're fine. Go, kid, go. You're
And
good.
if there's a problem, we got another one in the van,
Yeah.
Dave. It's
Oh,
okay.
you broke,
Exactly.
you broke
You'll
that
still
one
look
too.
good,
Here's
man.
another one. Go again. Go again.
You'll still look good, man.
Yeah.
It's just wild to hear those. I mean, that is truly, when you think about it, it really truly is the formative years of not just racing, but manufacturing, geometry stuff, product development. Like, you guys were Hollywood said it, like Chuck Yeager of BMX. Like, you guys were those guys. You were the first ones involved with the first working with Lynn Caston. Like, I mean, it was like, that's when it really turned into real bikes, from modded out Stingrays and stuff. It's crazy.
Absolutely. No question about it.
Did you see JV's face light up when he said Zunner Friday model? You know why, man. He said he loves that New Jersey. Loves that New Jersey, man.
Hey,
Hey,
a lot of West Coast. We got a lot of West Coast on the show, so gotta give.
Byron, how did Zunner get involved? How did Sal Zunner get involved? That's kind of crazy.
Okay, so Sal was NBL #1, and DG hired him because we had a strong sales on the East Coast, and so DG hired him. And then when I actually went to work for Green Duck Corporation that owned DG, we were making frames, and Sal came down to spend a month in California, and we designed the new frame, the new geometry on the new frame, and we both agreed on it, on the same design. So one night having sake and sushi, Nina, the co-owner of the DG Green Duck Corporation, she said, well, we got to come up with a name. But I was thinking that, you don't want to call it Byron Friday signature. Why don't we call it Friday Zunner or Zunner Friday frame? And they start on the napkin, they did start doing initials, okay? And the ZF would look cool. So it was a Zunner Friday 1.
wow.
And that's how it came to be.
So you lost the coin toss. It wasn't the Friday Zunner.
I was gonna say.
That's okay. That's okay, because you know what? We had a great relationship, and even someone decides to put your name on it, it's an honor. So that's, two homies, we got our name on one bike. That's dope as hell,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
Hey, Mike, how about this? Okay, you didn't know that at one point in time, okay, Turbo Harry Larry, Dave Clinton, and Byron Friday were working at Diamondback.
wow.
Yeah, at the same time, for sure.
And Harry Larry and Byron Friday were going to Taiwan, doing what Eric Carter was talking about.
Exactly.
Oh.
Dealing with the low quality factories.
It's interesting. It's an interesting process, isn't it?
Well, let's see.
Give them the scoop, David, on the Diamondback history.
Well, I just remember they were looking. I was in sales, and Bob Arnold, the owner's son-in-law, got me the job in the sales side of things, and because I'd gone all over the country and knew a lot of the retailers. So he's like, "Hey, you're good talking to people and stuff like that," and they were looking for somebody in the BMX product side of things. And I'm like, Byron is the guy that we need to have, man. And we reached out to Byron and got him hooked up with Al Stonehouse and Mike Bobrick and Bill Amelski, which was another guy that was there, and got Byron hooked up. And I mean, it was awesome. It was a great relationship. So yeah, I helped Byron get the job there at Diamondback, and it was just a cool deal. Somebody that I knew had the smarts and to take the bike and that side of things in the right direction, and it was like putting the right guy in the right position of the job. So it was cool.
Right.
Hey, ECJV, can you imagine working with Those two guys right there. How cool would that be?
Man.
It would
Yep.
be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I've got to work with EC, we got to work together for a bit, and that was a blast. Loved it.
Oh yeah,
And,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's great when you get to work with your friends.
No, absolutely. There's no question about it. So no, that's cool. That's cool.
Yep.
No, well,
Yeah.
again, guys, thank you so much for this. This is awesome, and can't wait to see how it turns out, and have the family watch it and enjoy it, and give me hell.
No, you guys did great.
We're gonna
thank
I'll
you.
definitely, since your family's gonna watch, I'll definitely edit out the part about you and that one girl in the van on tour. I'll edit that part out.
You don't have to, dude. That's how I learned my Red Wings, man.
All right, so listen, I'll edit it out. We're gonna drop another episode this Sunday. After that episode drops, then I already have the artwork made for this one, and then I'll post that after Sunday, and then you guys can repost it and do whatever you want.
Okay.
Cool.
I mean, we appreciate you reposting it.
And I will do it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. No, there's
Yeah.
a lot of people they got on Facebook and all that'll follow. So no,
Yeah.
absolutely. It'd be cool.
Hey, and one more thing,
Yeah.
DC. First of all, thank you again for saying yes for doing the flag ceremony. That's huge.
I'm honored.
Yeah,
I'm honored.
and-
It's going to be
and,
cool.
It's ours. Believe me, it's our honor. And we have and Ben Cox. I talked to Ben today.
Okay.
He was super stoked that you were coming on tonight.
Yeah, no, I told him that. I said I have to leave early because I gotta go kind of gear up for this and be ready. And so because I work until 6, and I go, I'm not gonna leave right at 6 o'clock and try to jam over there. So
Yeah.
no, I live right up the street from the shop, but I said, I need to leave early. He goes, absolutely, for Hollywood, go for it, dude.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that
so I
was
called
cool.
Monday. I called yesterday. I texted him Sunday. I called him yesterday, and I was telling him I wanted to call him to tell him, "Hey, man, let DC go early." So I was trying to do the legwork first.
Hey, I
But
appreciate it, man.
You already took care of it, man. You already took care of it.
Yeah, no, I told him, and he's just, he said anything for Hollywood, man. So
Yeah.
he loves you, man.
And that's feeling so mutual. I got a special thing for him. I told him about today. And Byron, I heard that I watched your Redline Society. That was pretty cool, man. I learned a lot. That was very cool.
Yeah, that was fun. I got to do a deep dive on the Redline history.
Yeah,
Go
it was
deep
cool.
on the product development.
And that's sort of why I kind of cut you off a little bit early on, because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
only a week old and everyone will have heard that. So I didn't want to
Right.
double up on it here.
Okay, got you.
But
Oh,
the
beautiful.
way this is going to shape in together, the way, and I'll trim some things out in, but the way this
Yeah.
will shape together, it'll turn out great. It'll turn
Okay,
out great.
excellent. Excellent.
Cool stuff.
Well, thank you
Absolutely.
guys.
All right, gentlemen, you
Okay,
got
guys.
it.
Thank you,
Thanks.
guys.
Great night.
Right
Have a
on,
good
man.
night. We'll
night
see
now.
you at the
Buddy.
end of next month.
Yeah,
Hey,
you will.
boys.
You dirty knobs.
Yeah, baby.
Hey, this is John Cruz. No, we're not having an earthquake. I have Parkinson's. What do you think of that, Michael?
We ought to pitch in and get you a gimbal.
That would be nice. But seriously, this is John Cruz, and I obviously have something going on, and I was diagnosed with Parkinson's 20 years ago this year, actually. So I've chosen the Davis Finney Foundation over the years to be my voice for Parkinson's. If you're not familiar with the Davis Finney Foundation, Davis Finney is one of the winningest cyclists in American history. He's the roadie. If you guys remember those roadies out there, all that Lycra and stuff. But he is just a great man. When he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, he decided to make a difference in people's lives. And his choice was to start a foundation. And that foundation obviously wishes for a cure for Parkinson's, because there is no cure at this time. But they recognize that you have to live with Parkinson's, and your caregivers are having to live and take care of us. And the Davis Finney Foundation that's what they do, is they only look for a cure, but they look for ways to enhance the quality of life for Parkinson's sufferers and their caregivers. So I appreciate all of you supporting the Davis Finney Foundation. It certainly means a lot to me. I know we all have something, right? So I think it's important to give back to our communities, whether it's BMX or a foundation that's close to your heart. If you don't have one, please choose mine. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you, John Cruz. You certainly have made a difference in a lot of lives, including mine, and giving us the opportunity to do something good for somebody else is fantastic. So thank you. Thank you so much. And on behalf of John Cruz, please find a way to give something to the Davis Finney Foundation on behalf of John Cruz, the Dirty Knobs, and your entire BMX family. Thank you very much. Well, I hope you enjoyed that one, you bunch of dirty knobs. So please do that. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Comment if you have anything to say. We'd love to hear it. And we will be back out here in 2 weeks with another one. And thanks to our sponsors. Speaking of which, we are going to read some commercials to you now. Thanks for showing our sponsors the love, because they're showing it to us. Thanks again, and we'll catch up to you soon. And then sing it out right now.
All right, coming live and direct from the Colt Clubhouse in Santa Ana, California. Come on down and get all your BMX needs. We're giving away free air for your tires. That's all I got, brother.
That's great. That's great. All right. Now.
It's perfect.
Perfect.
Kinda, designed for your journey. On the road, on the trail, or on the racetrack, you can count on Kinda quality. Our tires are engineered for performance and value across a wide range of interest and applications. See why Kinda is the right choice. It's your move.
Imagine how bikes can lead to a healthier, more connected world. Bikes set us apart, free to explore and move and experience our relationships with people and places like nothing else can. At Ceres, we don't just imagine a more bikeable world, we're all in, making it happen.
SR Sun Tour shares your passion of cycling. We are committed to giving you the highest level of service in the industry, along with products that hopefully will exceed your expectations. Serving riders is the cornerstone of our business, and we pride ourselves in doing it.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Velocity Bike Park is the premier bike park for riders in Southern California, with 25 miles of world-class trails, obstacles, flow track, and races for mountain biking, gravel, and BMX.
Ultramax. Do you ever find yourself outside on a hot summer day, maybe washing your car? I don't know what happens, but all of a sudden your shirt is wet and you're all full of suds. So you just take it off just for the neighbors. Well, the neighbors called and they want you to buy a new Ultramax t-shirt. Not available where fundraising car washes are, but you can still buy an Ultramax t-shirt at dirtyknobs.com. Ultramax.
You guys are one-take wonders, man.
Hi everybody, Toby Henderson, founder of Box, co-founder of American BMX Companies, the owner of Race Inc., Botima, and Cook Brothers Racing. We brought these two companies together to bring you the best quality product you can get for a BMX bike. We're all about the rider, so please check out our Level Up and Rider First programs. See you at the track.
ODI Grips, the world leader in grip technology, home of the lock-on grip system. Check them out over at www.odigrips.com. 4416 Designs commercial, take one.
All right, 4416 Designs. We make shirts, but we don't sell them. We're just giving back to the sport. if you're out at Ukaipa BMX and you need a shirt, hit me up. I'll hook you up with one.
Yeah, I love that.
Mega Design Group is a full-service marketing firm. They handle everything from logos to advertising to packaging. Having over 25 years experience in the print and marketing fields, they can handle any hurdle. Check it out at megadesigngroup.com.
Carbone Cartel, for the finest carbon BMX racing products in the market. Make sure you check us out at carbonecartelbmx.com. Our products are ridden by the best in the sport. Drew Polk, Nick Long, and many, many more. This isn't the cheap shit you get from Ali Bobbitt. Make sure you check us out again at carbonecartelbmx.com.
Cool Stop Brake Pads. High performance bicycle brake pads since 1977. Check them out at coolstop.com. That's KOOLSTOP.com.
Supercross BMX. What can we say? Our lives revolve around BMX. Founded in 1989 to build the ultimate BMX race frame, they've never strayed from that vision. Hey, for more details, check it out at supercrossbmx.com.
Hey everyone, this is Brian Wilson with ProGate. We are the official gate supplier for UCI and the Olympics. We even make a gate that you can practice on in your driveway at home.
Wait a minute, who else are you making a gate for?
We're making a gate for Dirty Fest. You guys got to come and check it out. Whatever Dirty Fest needs for this track, we're going to supply it. We're not some French knockoff, you know. We're the gold standard in BMX gates. And make sure to check us out at progate.net and bmxtracksupply.com, and we'll see you at Dirty Fest for sure. Take care, everybody.
Hey, folks, this is Mike Rodriguez, a.k.a. Mr. Crit. I've been racing and making number plates since 1980. You know, like when they used to do one-pedal starts. But, you know, Crit Plate has been around for 43 years. The last 4 decades, the who's who of BMX have raced a Crit number plate straight to the handlebars. And, you know, you get that guy, Mike Savage, the international man of BMX, still doing it strong. And, you know, back in the day, the plates used to be reversible because there was multiple sanctions. And you could put, you know, one sanction on one side, one on the other. Now, you just got one. But Crit is still reversible, and that logo is still on the back for guys like Mike and you rad guys, you know, like Mike Miranda, who would turn those handlebars and twist them up. And we got it rad just for you.
All right. Hey, where will we see those plates?
Those plates you can see at every single bike shop that stocks BMX stuff in the USA and Canada.
And where will you be at? Will you be at an event sometime soon?
Damn, I'm sponsoring the Dirty Fest, and I can't wait to come out to Southern California and get dirty.
Amy grips, still made here in the USA. Used by world champions like me, Tommy Brackens. If you want to know more about the best grips on earth, go to amy.com.
If you have a Senna cycling helmet, you know what it's like to ride connected. Senna got their start in communications for the motorcycling industry, where they're now a leader. Senna brought their same tech that goes into those helmet-to-helmet motorcycle communication systems into cycling helmets. Senna bike helmets have an integrated microphone and 2 speakers hidden right into the shell. Senna helmets connect together on a mesh or Bluetooth network so you can talk to your friends while you ride without shouting over wind noise, even if you're not side by side. That's super cool, especially in the trails. Senna helmets also pair with smartphones, so you can listen to your playlist without blocking out ambient noise, and you can take phone calls and even hear turn-by-turn GPS directions.
Ready?
And that's going in.
Yeah. We need a doing. All right.
What's your nickname for like on the mic? Do you have a?
No.
You don't have?
I don't really have a nickname. It's Mike.
Oh.
Just Mike on the mic.
Into my app.
That's,
She got one.
That's getting edited.
Yeah.
We're putting that in.
Hi, I'm Mike Miller, author of Day One by Michael Miller. And a special offer going out. Anybody who buys the book between now and Dirty Fest, which is April 28th through 30th, I'm going to take all the money from the book and send it to the Davis Finney Foundation for those with Parkinson's. So get your copy on Amazon.com and we'll make a donation.
Hey, what was the name of that book again?
Day One by Michael Miller, which is me.
I'm sorry. Hey, what was that name again?
Day One by Michael Miller.
Hey, support the podcasts that support us, our friends. The fine folks over there at All Things BMX, which is our favorite Wednesday night live podcast, as you know. Our buddies over there at Beer Budget BMX, Big Bike BMX, and BMX Weekly. Check them out. Check them out. Our friends.
What's up, everybody? It's your friend Isaac from Big Bike BMX, and I've got a podcast with my best friend, 80s BMX Craig.
Yep. And guess what, you guys? If you have enjoyed your time here on the Dirty Knobs podcast, we'd love for you guys to come over and hang out with us at Big Bike BMX, where we've got all your old school legends and BMX from the past and today at Big Bike BMX. Isaac,
come check us out. We'd love the opportunity to win you over. And if not, hey, it's just another place to talk about BMX with your grimy friends. It's fun.
Hey, Dale Holmes, I want to tell you something. One of my favorite podcasts that I never miss is BMX Weekly. Even though it has an accent, I still love it.
Cheers, Mike. You can get all the podcasts on bmxweekly.com. Old school, mid school, today's school. Check it out.
Yeah, BMX Weekly.
Hey, here we go. Hey, Beer Budget BMX, baby. Coming at you live from the Beer Budget studios over here at the Hack Shack Quarantine. Oh, man, we're coming in hotter than Satan's nutsack. Yeah, we are dirtier than an Alabama strip club where reclass pros go and get lap dances by their half-sister. Yeah, the only show that'll make you second-guess your life choices like a Amish on an e-bike.
Hey, if you guys enjoy what you just listened to, make sure you tune in every Wednesday night to the All Things BMX show, the only live streaming podcast show in the game right now. Even ask Mike. He's been on. Vicente's been on. Still waiting for that other guy to come on the show. You can find us on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. And you can also find us at allthingsbmxshow.com.
Keep it dirty.
We got her done.
We got her done. We got two.
Yep.
We got two.
I know, 2 in the can, dude.
That's good.
2 in the can. Was it?
1 in the something.
2 in the pink, 1 in the stink. That's what it is. Dude,
Yeah,
I saw a
that's
donut
right.
shop that they shaped their donuts like hands and they put pink frosting and chocolate frosting.
Oh,
on
that's
the
so
hand.
good. Shocker.
That's actually really good.
Shaka.
It's funny, huh?
That's great.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. If you go to a bad donut shop, then yeah, they taste like shit. But an average donut shop is still decent.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever
To
been
me.
to a bad donut
But a
shop.
good donut
Yeah.
shop, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
But
know
a
if I ever
good
ate a donut and went,
donut
this sucks, except if it's like hard, you know? Have you
Right.
walk out of a donut shop
Right.
going, this sucks. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever
Yeah.
done that.
I've never taken my donut, thrown it
Yeah.
on the ground.
Oh, God.
This is horrible.
Fucking, you know, it's like this. You get the last bite. You know, that really wasn't a great donut. I wish I hadn't ate that fourth one.
Yeah.
That's what JV says.
Good.
They sent us Mike Savage.
Steve's favorite.
He's racing him. JV's racing him.
That's right. Dude, if you don't take him out, you're off the team.
You're the bounty hunter.
Hey, dude.
Fucking dude's in shape, man.
Yeah, but before the gate even falls, just fall over in the gate. Fall over on him.
That's it. He's gonna look over and one of your handlebars is gonna be sticking out the side longer than the other.
Just
Like
pretend you messed up on your balance and you tipped over. Just fucking fall over on him.
Just say,
Before the gate drops.
oh.
Boom.
Kick his
So-
tire. Your glitch, your like screen is
Max headroom.
Oh yeah, see that?
it is the max. It's like max. It is
headroom.
exactly it.
Max headroom.
All right.
All right, boys.
Okay. Hey, I say it every time. I love you guys.
I love you too.
Okay,
All
fellas.
right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Ultramax. Did you ever find yourself outside on a hot summer day? You're not supposed to.
Oh my god. Oh man, this is a Budweiser commercial. Yeah, now. Ultramax. Drag racing this weekend. Oh my gosh, that was great. Sorry, I couldn't hold it now.
Aren't you the director, man? You're not supposed to laugh.
Okay, sorry, I'll try not to.
That was great.
I don't know if I can hold it in. Oh my gosh. Ultramax. Dude, you killed me on that first one. Oh.
That's good stuff.